Welcome back to Roughing It. We're crossing Savannah River. We're going into South Carolina. Woohoo! South Carolina state line. Time for a relaxing day at the beach. We're in Hilton Head, South Carolina. A lot of wind. Look at you, you're at the Atlantic Ocean. You're a bi-coastal dog now. I might turn back before all my jewelry blows away. Or I do. Depends. There's all kinds of wood debris, dark water. We might have to get off this beach, Skylar. Don't blow away, Skylar. It's crazy. To avoid going airborne, we moved on to the South Carolina Sea Islands. Hunting Island State Park. So named for its plentiful hunting grounds in the colonial era, it is now a preserve for a vast array of land and marine wildlife. I have decided that we are camping at Huntington Island State Park. We are in the jungle. Let's go check it out. South Carolina has 47 facilities that the State Park Service administers, including 30 state parks, 15 historic sites, 1 resort, and 1 recreational area. All right, we are looking for our campsite. Oh my God, we're next to a swamp. Holy shit. Campsite 202, that's us. This will be interesting. I've never camped in this kind of environment and I'm kind of looking forward to it. I honestly think that probably the biggest reason that Skylar is excited to camp is because she gets to dig holes and that there's just no greater pleasure than to dig a hole and then probably lie in it. The more times you set up your tent, the faster it goes. Don't forget to stake it, as the weather can change quickly. This place kind of has like a Lord of the Flies feel to it. I think this takes a new level of adventure. And adventure is definitely to be had on Hunting Island. I think what's going to be next on the agenda is there's actually a beach, and in fact during May through October you can't have any lights on the beach because the turtles they hatch and they have to find their way to the sea, and the light really disorients them. So I say we go swimming. We are at Huntington Island Beach Park, and we kind of have the beach a bit to ourselves. Better be careful swimming, as there are few lifeguards way down there and whatever else lives in that water. Oh well, I'm gonna go for a swim. Safety is of the utmost importance. If you're not an advanced swimmer, it's best to swim directly in front of the lifeguard or not at all.
Oh my God, I just lost my bathing suit. Ow, my bathing suit bottom just came right off.
Seclusion has its benefits. Skylar also enjoyed a quick dip. One nice thing about this place is that they let dogs on the beach during the day. On 5 miles of vacant, pristine white sand beach and an ocean inlet, Skylar was one happy dog. It's easy to see why hunting is South Carolina's most popular state park. We're heading back into the jungle. The park also includes thousands of acres of maritime forest, marshland, a saltwater lagoon, and the only publicly accessible lighthouse in the state. Okay, well, we are back at the camp. Skylar is back digging her holes. We're gonna have a little bit of lunch and then either go to the lighthouse or go for a hike. We opted for a hike along Magnolia Forest Trail. There are 10 current hiking trails in the park. So far we've seen deer, raccoon, squirrel of course, lots of birds, really pretty ones, red ones, orange ones, brown, like a pretty brown, like almost reddish brown. You don't have to have an interest in ornithology to be dazzled by the amazing birds at hunting. Tip number 1. Download the Merlin Bird ID app. Not only will you be able to identify bird types, but you'll also become part of the citizen scientist community that helps Cornell University catalog bird species and populations. For my observations across the country, Cornell sent me a lovely calendar.
There are truly some amazing birds around here, which is part of the whole deal. They're just beautiful. There's these bright red birds. They must be robins. Oh God. You know, there's gator warnings everywhere, and we're camped right next to a swamp. And so you're just like, there's gators everywhere. I am also going to be keeping both eyes open because there's a lot of swamp and gator warnings. And while we've seen a lot of wonderful wildlife, we don't want to see gators. I'll pass on that. Some of the trails are closed because of flooding. We've been pretty lucky with the weather because we have had rainy days, that's for sure. Also, just another tip, and I'm sure I mentioned this before, but if you're ever lost, you don't have any water or whatever, never drink that water. Unless you boil it, maybe even a couple of times boil it, or if you have iodine tablets. Otherwise, you'll end up with giardia or some kind of parasite, and it will be worse than when you didn't have water in the first place. You always want to bring water. Also, when you're hiking, and I'm sure I talked about this before, you always want to look back behind you, memorize something every few feet. So if you have to retrace your steps, you go, aha, I saw that broken tree. That's what you want to do. Not just, oh, I saw a tree. Oh, you saw a tree? Look at all these trees. Another thing about leash laws. Sometimes leash laws are in place to protect your dog. You know, there's gator warnings and it says, at dusk, anything that moves is fair game. That's another reason to keep your dog on the leash.
Tip number 2. Be serious about insect repellent and not just for yourself.
Yeah, there's insects. I mean, that's one of the things about if you're gonna go camping, you're gonna be in nature, you're gonna do it in the summertime, you're gonna be dealing with insects. There's mosquitoes everywhere. Covered head to toe in mosquito repellent, and yet it's almost like it's not even enough.
Even though Skylar was flea and tick treated, it was no match for the ticks of South Carolina.
You know, it's important to respect all creatures of Earth, but I do not respect ticks, and they are everywhere. Mosquitoes are everywhere too. At first the mosquitoes bothered me, but then we were dealing with ticks, and it's like, bring the mosquitoes on, leave the ticks.
We did a hike, we did 2 walks on the beach, a couple of swims. Hopefully this will tire Skylar out enough so we can sleep. We headed back to camp to set up for the evening.
Our messy table. I bet you gets spooky at night with all that Spanish moss and noises. Yeah, you're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm almost afraid to prepare food, but I'm gonna do it. Wish me luck.
It's a good idea to have a shovel or water on hand to be able to douse the fire quickly. It's also a good idea to keep your fire starters more separate from the fire.
Make the lighters myself, sort of.
Fire will also generally keep animals away. To keep the fire going, remember, fire needs oxygen, so it's a good idea to shift the wood around.
Pasta.
Night was about to fall, and it was time for a relaxing, peaceful evening. Tip number 3. If you're there for the wildlife, a canine companion comes with some challenges.
Last night was particularly difficult. We had raccoons parading through our campground, and of course, Skylar was so happy about that. Ditto on the deer, which I don't think there's anything that infuriates Skylar more than a deer wandering into our camp. So we're gonna be packing up and taking off. Today we're gonna go see the Lighthouse, maybe go to Fripp Island. It's where one of my favorite authors lived before he passed away, Pat Conroy. So it should be a good day, albeit a sleep-deprived one. Well, considering that I just spent the last, I don't know, hour or so in the shower picking off about 30 ticks off of Skylar, that's not including the ticks that I found on her last night, we're gonna go ahead and forego the nature hikes, because that was intense.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Just me and the dog.
Oh, hello.
So apparently the cost of going to the lighthouse is lumped in with the cost of getting eaten alive by mosquitoes and ticks.
If you pay to camp, an excursion to the lighthouse is included in the cost. Standing at 136 feet tall, Hunting Island is the second tallest lighthouse in South Carolina. The tallest?
Here's a few of the sizes of South Carolina's. Here's where you can see along the coast where all the lighthouses are. And then you can see here, goes up, and this is ours right here. Hunting. It's one of the bigger ones, but not the biggest. What's the biggest, folks? Morris Island. Let that be a lesson.
While the lighthouse is no longer functioning, you can get a smoke and mirror shot of the lighthouse reflection lined up with an interior cabin light, with maybe some help from a fellow traveler.
Did you get it? See? Much better. Way better than mine.
Kind of have to.
I guess so.
So behind me is one of the oldest lighthouses on the East Coast, built. It says 1873, but it was actually built earlier than that. I was reading that it was built before the Civil War.
Originally constructed in 1859, Hunting Island Lighthouse was destroyed by the Confederates during the Civil War to prevent the Union from being able to use it for navigation. It was rebuilt in 1873. For a nominal fee, you can climb the 167 steps to the top.
You know, it must have been kind of a hard life, because you're isolated in the lighthouse. There's no doctors, there's no help, there were no bridges back then. And also just in being here, dealing with the elements, the insects, the animals and everything, it really does make you appreciate what people went through before us. I have gobs and gobs of insect repellent, which, by the way, I completely went through. What did they have? I mean, they might have had home remedies. They might have had home remedies that are better than the store-bought. I mean, I don't know. But I got sunscreen, I've got bottled water. Just imagine what, and not only the lighthouse keepers, but what the first pioneers went through to settle this land. It's incredible. And then forget about the settlers, what they went through. Think about what the slaves went through. It's bad enough just being a settler and then being a slave on top of it. And there's no water either. All the water around here is brackish, so they had to ship it in.
The lighthouse keepers and their families relied on some ingenious methods, including cisterns, underground storage tanks, and elaborate rain catchers. I keep saying that this journey is not for the faint of heart because we're in a lot of uncomfortable situations. We're camping, we're sleeping in the car, you know, we're dealing with bugs, we're dealing with the elements, we're dealing with people. It's not for the faint of heart. Not for the faint of heart? Try being here in 1730. That was not for the faint of heart. This country was founded by intrepid, determined, adventurous people. And the best part is that they came from all over the world. We are a country of everybody. We're a country of everybody. We're like a new breed. We're everyone. And somehow we formed an identity out of that. But you cannot look at our origins without feeling a mixture. I mean, if you're an intelligent person, without feeling a mixture of shame as well as pride, because we also did some pretty horrible things. This is the Huntington State Park Pier. I think that's Fripp Island over there. I thought that that double red flag that they had up, I thought that meant that it was just really high surf. It meant that you couldn't go in the water. And so we've been swimming twice with the double red flag up. So apparently Fripp Island is where Blackbeard buried all of his treasure, and I want to go find some. We're going treasure hunting, Skylar! Interesting. Fripp Island is a private community, and you can't go there. See, I think Fripp Island is a private community because they've got Blackbeard's treasure. Well played, Fripp Islanders. Well played. We continued on anyway, minus some treasure. Join us next time in Beaufort. I wonder if this would work on me.